I'm going to just take you through, as an initial introduction, what crowdfunding is all about, and why we built a platform in South Africa, and then why it has become such a powerful way of raising capital for new ideas across the world. You know, I'll refer to one of the pioneers in crowdfunding in the world, and that is Kickstarter, which is an American-based site. Now, last year, they raised 2.5 billion rand, so that's 2,500 million rand, for over 19,000 new ideas in the world. Now, that's phenomenal. And that's everything from someone wanting to create a new film, to someone wanting to build a hemp house, to someone wanting to publish a book, to creating a new gizmo that figures out whether you're smoking in somebody's house. Everything. It's becoming a driving force. What Uber is to taxis, crowdfunding and guys like Kickstarter and Thundafund maybe are to new investment capital in the world. So just a bit of background on myself. As Gina was saying, there's Gina. When I was at UCT, I studied business science, spent a lot of time in this building here. And when it came to my last year, I was looking around the class, I said, guys, we're all doing marketing. There's like 50 people in this place who are doing our honors in marketing. Who of you is actually getting out there to start your own business? I think there were like 3 of us, and that was it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Out of everyone in South Africa, we are some of the most highly qualified people to actually get out there and start our own stuff. I went out there, started my own business. After about 5 years, I realized that sometimes it's actually not such a bad idea to start with somebody else, because you make mistakes and somebody else pays for your school fees as you figure out what you do. So nowadays, I really do believe in entrepreneurship as you come out of the starting blocks, when you leave. But also, I see nothing wrong to go to work for a corporate for a couple of years. Just saying. But I came out. The first thing I did was set up a magazine business for well, it was basically a social magazine business, and that was based on the idea that if you know who does what in the local area, then you will use them and you will build resilient communities. A very nice example of tracking that is, Gina spoke about the 10 rand notes. Well, a bunch called, I think it was Unlimited they're called. They did a study where they put 100 rand notes into Seapoint, and they tracked those 100 rand notes before they left the Seapoint area. They changed hands on average 20 times before that 100 rand note left the community. They did the same thing in Khayelitsha. The rand changed, that 100 rand note changed hands 3 times before it left. And generally it went out through the big checkers or the retail stores. And what they was looking at is saying, if you're going to build resilient societies, you need to keep the money circulating. Now, that was 15, 18 years ago when I started that enterprise. If you look at crowdfunding today, it's following the same kind of principles. And that is the idea that normally, if you want to start something new, you have 2 options. One, you raise debt. So you say, my idea is so good, I go to the bank, I go to a bunch of friends, I borrow the cash. I then start my business, where I launch my new idea. What have I got when I start? I've got a whole bunch of debt. Or you give away equity. So you've got a fantastic idea. Of course, when an idea is on a piece of paper, it's worth maybe 5 or 10% of what it's worth once you actually launch it. So you're in a very disadvantaged position when you actually start something and you have no cash. So generally, you've watched things like Dragon's Den. You want to watch Dragon's Den? Okay. What happens in Dragon's Den? You get these 3 fat cats sitting there, well planted with a bunch of cash, and they look at you and they say, do I like your idea? And the entrepreneur jumps around like a court jester and tries to impress, and he says, I'll take 50% of your company, I'll give you half what you're asking for. And they say, thank you, thank you, thank you, walk out. Crowdfunding is the antithesis of that. Crowdfunding says, I'm not talking to those 3 people over there who are going to decide whether it's worthwhile. And you know what? They get it wrong more than 50% of the time. So I'm talking to a bunch of people who are going to give me money, I'm going to owe them a bunch of cash, and they're wrong more than 50% of the time? Because VCs know that less than 3 out of 10 ventures that they're going to back are going to be really successful. So they get it wrong. You swing your chair around and I say, this is my idea, guys. I want you to crowdfund it for me. I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing, and if you like it, you, in essence, give me $100 and I will give you something in return. You give me $500 and I'll give you something in return. You give me $1,000 because you look like you have it. And I'll give you something in return. And that is, if you think about that, what you're doing there in the process is you're testing in the wild, in the real world, whether people like your idea and whether they want to back it or not. So I'll give you an example of, Neil over there is going to chat about, do you know a band called the Parlotones? Yeah, you might have heard of them. A guy called Khan, head to the Parlotone. Neil's going to talk about him because they did a fantastic campaign. But as an example, I'll use Honest Chocolate. Honest Chocolate, they make the most fantastic organic raw chocolate. They've got a little place in Cape Town. They made chocolate, they want to open a cafe. So they, instead of going to the bank to borrow 100,000, they said, look, tell you what, you give me $250 and I'll give you 4 bars of the best chocolate you'll ever have in your life. You give me $500, you'll get 8 bars of chocolate, plus you'll come to our launch, which is going to be awesome. There's a gin bar there too, by the way. You'll also get 2 cups of chocolate coffee when you come. You will get a workshop on how to actually make chocolate. $1,000 from you, 500 from you, 250 from you, 5,000 from you over there, because you are going to bring 13 of your friends, and we're going to have a chocolate lockdown, which means for 3 hours they close the door, lock it, and they feed you chocolate. And if you walk out the other side, you've done well. That's what they did. They raised 70,000 rand. So that means they don't owe the bank anything. They haven't given away any equity in their new cafe, and they've opened an amazing place. But more importantly than that, they've tested their idea. And that's one of the key things. You know, when you're launching your new idea into the world, if I told you about an awesome idea for a chocolate cafe, and I said, what do you guys think? Everyone goes, oh, we love it, fantastic. Will you come to it? Yes, you put up your hand. That does not mean they're actually going to come. You'll find when you say, okay, great, fantastic, guys. Okay, here's my hat. Now put in the cash. Oh, no, I don't have money today. It's not about the love. It's not about the likes. It's not about the Google Pluses or whatever. It's about people actually putting cash on the table and saying, I like it enough that I believe what you are doing, and there's the cash. Now that is the critical point. And that's what crowdfunding shows you. It's not just about raising the capital, it's about, does this idea work in the world? Do people want it? And then that's moving on to the social causes, because everything I've done in life everything I've done in my working life has been about, it's got to be a great business idea as well as have a strong social impact. So what we've done and this is one of the reasons crowdfunding was so appealing to me. You know, in South Africa, we need to build communities. And so much of what we do separates us. We look at religion. You know, people march against this country, then people march against that country. Then they tell you should be following this religion or that one. It separates us the whole time. The really awesome thing about crowdfunding is you build communities around ideas. Now you can say, there's a campaign on Thundafund at the moment by a guy called Con Burtish. He was head of creative at one of the best agencies in South Africa, digital agencies, called Quirk. He's doing a crowdfunding campaign at the moment to raise 1.6 million rand for a new app to fight cancer. A couple of years ago, he had a brain tumor. He managed to get through it. How he got through it is he realized the mind is an incredibly powerful thing when it comes to healing. Yeah, you get the drugs, you get the chemotherapy, etc., etc. But when it comes to whether you survive or not, so much of it has to do with your attitude. And there's a lot of stuff coming through. So he's building apps that allow you to play a game to visualize what the cancer is doing to you and to allow you to actually empower yourself and fight the cancer through playing the games. It's really cool. It brings together technology, it brings together gamification, and it brings together fighting a disease that many of us will have to figure out how to deal with later in our lives. Okay, thanks guys.